So, in case you haven't been watching The Simpsons, and really, who still does, this clip from a recent episode went viral.
So many problems, tariffs. I need a distraction. They shouldn't be in America. No one but me in America. No taxes for me in America. This is my natural America.
We're more American than your wife.
She's not a big presence in my life.
Your love life makes us heave.
You two will never see Tel Aviv.
You're gracing your palm with emoluments.
It's okay with God, says Mike Pence.
You're Boris Johnson without the class. Can't wait to see you behind prison glass. Your nose is right up Putin's ass. We say it's time to impeach you fast.
Oh no, it's the Democratic candidates. Can't be the first one to lose my breath. Can't be the first one to fall.
Who's an old man now?
Yeah, I'll say goodbye to the ad revenue on this video already. Donate on Subscribestar, pals. But this does seem to be a new low for The Simpsons, which has already been a shambling corpse of a show for the last decade or two. To be clear, I'm not complaining with the goofy Trump caricature. I didn't complain when Family Guy did Clinton, Bush, or Obama. That's exactly what political comedy should be. The problem is that, in the Simpsons clip, it's just not funny. To contrast, Clinton has sex with Lois.
Mr. President, I need to have a word with you. Well, you certainly are very persuasive.
So I've been told. Hey, you want to give me that cigar? I'm ready to smoke it now.
Obama's a smooth-talking literal star.
You gotta be sincere.
Bush acts like a bumbling monkey.
Mr. President, are you up there? Go away! Sir, there's a disaster in New Orleans. I'm reading Super Fudge. You gotta come down and deal with this. Don't make me do stuff.
The point of parody is to magnify the negative traits of the real person to the point of absurdity. With the exception of Trump's tiny hands, nothing in this clip is parody. Trump's a man of many faults, but he's not known for running away from four empowered whammons who sing in unison at him. This is like watching a video of what the radical left desperately wants Trump to be, not an overblown version of what he actually is. And speaking of those four whammons, the squad's got many negative traits as well, as do all the Democratic candidates. They're just as ripe for parody as Trump is, and a good political parody that includes people from multiple parties will take shots at all of them. I'm reminded of the 2004 presidential election cartoon that Jib Jab did, where they clearly left their own politics at the door and made everyone look like a goof for the sake of comedy.
Oh, I wish our winning were a bit more certain.
Better call my friends at Halliburton. We will pay.
So we stay.
Rule the day.
DC land.
I'm sensitive, I cannot lie.
I'd love to hug and kiss this guy.
Are they gay?
We won't say.
On our way.
DC land.
But we don't have that with The Simpsons. It's just Orange Man bad and Democrats good. Maybe it's because The Simpsons has been a dead show since, what, season 12? Season 10? According to DeadHomerSociety.com, The Simpsons has been colloquially known as Zombie Simpsons since 1999, because it's obvious that nobody involved with the show cares anymore, and nobody's actually left watching. The Simpsons is kept around nowadays because it's a cultural staple, not because it's any good. Kind of like Star Trek Voyager was. And back in the good seasons of The Simpsons, you would have never seen this Trump clip happen. Oh, you'd see political parody, sure. But here's how old Simpsons did it.
Hail, brothers! Coronan Sileria Uzumahok.
Part of the charm of old Simpsons is that celebrity guests wouldn't actually play themselves. They'd do caricatures of themselves, caricatures of others. Hell, they'd sometimes do random normal characters. The fun was in recognizing their voice. It was kind of a meta joke, realizing that a singer you were a fan of, or that actor you liked, was playing somebody ridiculous and not at all within their usual wheelhouse. But now, the joke is that the celebrities play themselves, showing up in Springfield for no reason other than just to be there.
Hey, it's an emancipated miner. What's your name?
I'm Bart Simpson, and hey,
Are you skateboarding legend Tony Hawk?
Okay, let's directly compare. Here's how old Simpsons would have handled the Trump situation.
KBBL Talk Radio, and now Springfield's favorite conservative and author of the well-selling book Only Turkeys Have Left Wings. Ladies and gentlemen, Birch Barlow.
Ugh, that Barlow's a right-wing crackpot. He said Ted Kennedy lacked integrity. Can you believe that?
Yeah, switch the station. I consider myself politically correct, and his views make me uncomfortable.
No, guys. Now, I'm not very political. I usually think people who vote are a bit fruity. But for some reason, this Birch Barlow really speaks to me.
Good morning, fellow freedom likers. Birch Barlow, the fourth branch of government, the 51st state.
See, in this case, we didn't need to be told that Homer was listening to Rush Limbaugh or Alex Jones. In fact, if he actually was listening to one of those guys, this clip wouldn't be funny at all. This speaks to a larger point about The Simpsons. Homer was always a parody of the sitcom Dad, and the comedy comes from the fact that he is a parody. The same goes for every other character on The Simpsons, from the other family members, to the kids at school, to the people around town. They're all stylized, hyper-exaggerated variants of real people. That's what makes them a parody. Which is why it was absolutely stupid, by the way, that the creators bowed to social justice outrage and removed Apu from the show a little while ago, because he was a parody of an Indian immigrant, something they found offensive, which was not only the point of his character, but the point of the entire show.
I hate Apu. And because of that, I dislike The Simpsons. The whole series.
Yeah. I love The Simpsons because
you hate yourself.
Except that's not the point of The Simpsons anymore. Not in the zombie years. Bart's not a parody of a skateboarding, video game-loving kid. He's just a kid now. Homer's not a parody of a bumbling dad. He's just a dad. Mr. Burns isn't a parody of the Monopoly man bent evil. He's just an evil capitalist. The Simpsons shifted from being the parody that everyone loved to being the bland milquetoast media that is now parodied by greater shows. It's no surprise that Family Guy came to prominence alongside the decline of The Simpsons, because old Family Guy was willing to be a parody again when The Simpsons wasn't. And it's also no surprise that as Family Guy's creators talk about not being able to do edgy jokes anymore, that show is also on the decline. In a broader sense, the culture of the late 80s all the way up to the early 2000s was a crash course in shock value. From lesbian titty flicks and gory action movies, early internet shitposting and the creation of 4chan, Mortal Kombat and Duke Nukem, Jackass and Punk'd and MXC. Everything that was popular revolved around getting a rise out of people, not a reaction. I'm not talking about the Fine Bros garbage where everything's faked and people pose with their mouths open as wide as they can for a thumbnail. I mean a rise. Doing wild things for laughs. Watching wild things to scare yourself or gross yourself out. Pushing boundaries. Enjoying extreme sports for the sick moves and the bone-crunching failures. For all the drawbacks of punk subculture, it was at least willing to have an edge. Horror movies were celebrated for their gore, not censored for it. Violent games were awesome, not problematic. Sexual content was cool, not oppressive. Raunchy comedies were hilarious, not gross. Do you really think a show or a movie like Jackass would fly today? Or is that just too violent or disgusting for 2019's audience? Do you think Punk'd would fly today? Or is being the butt of a hidden camera joke just too traumatizing for the Zoomers out there? Old Simpsons thrived throughout it all. It was one of the go-tos, alongside South Park, for parody. It was the show where the viewer could laugh at the powerful, or poke fun at society around them. But when those disaffected 20 and 30-somethings of the 90s became the current power structure, they stopped critiquing it. They lost their edge, and all of their old works were either cancelled or neutered into oblivion. In my video on the downvote button, I talked about how Egoraptor went from being an edgy content creator to a total cuck. It's kind of like that. In fact, I think Egoraptor rode the exact same cultural wave that The Simpsons did, although obviously in a completely different capacity. He exists in the same class of people as the creators of The Simpsons. When they were young and brash, still in the exploratory phase of their lives, all of these dudes were edgy little shits that liked shock humor, cultural critique, prank culture, sex, and violence. Racism was funny, not because they were racists, but because their old fuddy-duddy parents would gasp in startled disapproval at a racist joke. But now they're the old parents. Now that they've made their fortunes and earned their place in the zeitgeist using shock humor, they themselves gasp at the next generation doing what they once did 10 or 20 years ago. I can honestly hear Egoraptor's thoughts in my head when he sees a YouTuber make a racist joke. How did he get away with that? That's problematic. That hurts people's feelings. He shouldn't get famous doing that, even though that's what he did when he was that age. He's fallen out of that exploratory mindset, and he just doesn't understand that the next generation is reaching the height of it. I know, Egoraptor's not The Simpsons, obviously, but this logic applies to every single person, every single group, every organization, show, movie, series, whatever, that did a complete tonal 180 as they stopped seeing the world with a sense of wonder. The sexually liberated woman becomes the sex-negative SJW. The shock humor comedian begins to language police everything around him. The peddler of violent games and movies starts telling us to think of the children. And The Simpsons stops parodying politicians and simply draws them, hoping we'll laugh. But nobody's laughing. And it's not because we're all Trump supporters and we just hate the joke or something. No, it's more fundamental than that. It's because zombie Simpsons is a symptom of a larger problem. Millennials, and to a slightly lesser extent Gen Xers, are people so self-centered they have yet to realize that just because they're now in their 30s and 40s, and they're growing out of the stuff they used to like, that stuff does not need to be banned or butchered in order to serve their new sensibilities. It's okay to not like the things that you used to like. That doesn't make those things retroactively immoral or something. It's also okay for other people to like things you don't like too. That doesn't make them immoral people either. This is why you got ratioed on Twitter when you posted this absolute garbage, because everyone knows what you're doing. This is the midlife crisis of The Simpsons, desperately trying to appear young and cool, and everybody just shat on them for it. I'd rather go check out some of that awful Russian-made Simpsons porn of Bart fucking Marge or something.